is Andrew Smersek with Combat Art Training. I'm joined here today with Zach Bush of Definitive Training Solutions. We're going to be doing a 4-hour live stream together. Just kidding. But no, hey, Zach is coming down to Florida. He's going to be teaching 2 different classes. So I wanted to give him a shout out, let you guys know about the class. And since I've been kind of like scheduling lots of trainers to come to Aries, Zach scheduled himself. But since I've been scheduling lots of people, I think this would be a really good thing to do more frequently. First of all, give everyone an opportunity to get to know other instructors and other schools, and also know what kind of classes are coming to this area. So, Zach, why don't you tell me about, tell everyone about your company, what style of training you have, what are the classes like, what's kind of the vibe and the flow of classes?
Yeah, so Definitive Training Solutions is a company that I started back in 2019. We're based out of Indianapolis, Indiana. However, we travel more places than we teach around Indianapolis. But the idea of the company, aside from training like a lot of other companies, is the idea that we like to pressure test as much of our class curriculum as we can. So whether it's shotgun classes or whether it's entangled gunfighting or whether it's a retention class or vehicle class, as much as we can, dependent on the kind of gear that is available, we try to pressure test everything that we teach in class. So I would say if someone was asking for what is something that differentiates Definitive Training Solutions, or at least puts us in maybe a different category, is that we use usually like UTM type stuff to pressure test the techniques that we teach, or to pressure test the techniques that the student brings to class.
Awesome. That's very important. Now, so like for someone who hasn't really taken a class yet, that's like something that like guys like us will talk about. Guys that go and take classes, has this technique or this tactic been verified, pressure tested, has been used in real life, or has someone done it in force on force? So the fact that you're saying that, I really love it. I wish I had more opportunities to do it. I've started having what I call ultimate shot timer night, which is, I have the UTMs, but I'm kind of only got 1,000 rounds, so I'm trying to save it for something that makes money. But we've been, guys come over and then we just do a practical application of skills using airsoft in the yard, and we used to do it in my garage in my other place. Like the other thing is just practice hurting people and not getting shot.
There's many different ways to pressure test. Like, it's not just UTM stuff, although that's probably the biggest thing we use when it comes to gunfighting. But our entangled gunfighting class, there is UTM in that, but it's a lot of pressure testing the techniques, that you're taught the first, 2/3 of the day without any UTM, without any firearms. And so, shot timers, even airsoft, like those are all things that kind of fit into that general term of like ways to pressure test against a resisting opponent. Right. And I would even argue that the shot timer falls into that category to a certain degree, pressure testing yourself. But we're very big on that as much as we can. I know when I was coming up as a student, 10 something years ago, when I started getting real heavy into classes as a student, I would leave the class and I'd be like, man, like that's cool, but like, how do I know that works? Other than these people are telling me it works, which is totally fine. But like, how do I know that works? And then I took a couple other classes from different companies where they actually had force on force, or they had some kind of grappling component. And I was like, oh, this is how we test it. Like, this is one way that we can test what we learn, aside from just like historical accounts or just using like knowledge and just common sense. I think that component of being able to pressure test something against a resisting opponent, and that can mean different things, is something that I know when I write classes, like I'm always trying to get that in there, like as much as possible.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point too. If like people saying like this thing works, like that makes me want to go into another conversation, but I want to keep it. Someone comment later, hey, what were some things that you were told that worked that actually don't work? I've got a couple that I'd like to mention. Now, So we're going to be doing on June 8th, which is a Saturday at Aries, Entangled Gunfighting. And then the next day, Sunday, Definitive Shotgun. Can you tell them about Entangled Gunfighting?
Yeah, sure. So Entangled Gunfighting, I think, was the first class I ever taught. It was definitely the first one I ever wrote out. It's a one-day class. It is a grappling class with shooting at the end, essentially. So, like, it is a class that talks. There's really three components. The first component of the class is stand-up techniques, how to control somebody while you're standing up, which is a lot of wrestling techniques. The second third of the day, if you will, is ground techniques. So it's a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu techniques, how to control somebody on the ground, excuse me, and then also how to maintain that dominant position on the ground. And then there is a retention shooting component with live fire in the class. So it's those three components, and then at the end we use UTM and we bring all them together so that we are grappling on the ground. Maybe you're getting the UTM gun out, maybe you're not, depending on the scenario. But that's the one-day class, is those three components. We bring them all together at the end. Pressure test what you learned, and then obviously, like, I'd be a fool to say that people don't show up at this class with skills already, right? Pressure test the skills that you know. If you don't know any skills in the grappling sense, that's okay. Like, that's really what the class is for. But it's also for people that have a decent or even a large base of knowledge in the grappling arts, and they want to see where the gun fits into that, or they want to see where their skills fit into grappling either with a gun or with a gun involved. So that's kind of the premise of the one-day Entangled Gunfighting class. Right.
I'm especially excited for it. I think this year I have to get signed up. I have a thing going on. I'm going to be taking a Craig Douglas class. I'm not sure which one or where yet, but I'm excited for this. It's something that, like, Sonny talks about a lot. Is like there needs to be something in between, talking and shooting people, right?
Yeah.
Because if that's all you got, that's all you got, right?
Right.
And even the talking part can be hard. Trying to de-escalate a situation is not an easy thing, especially for people who are introverted or shy. But anyway, so that space right there, especially thinking about when there's a gun involved, that's been a thing that's been on my mind a lot, because I've not had to have someone wrestle me for my gun, but I've certainly had that go through my mind a lot. Like, okay, this scrote bag over here, I can't use my gun till this thing happens. Right. I don't even want to bring my gun out, but if I do go hand to hand, it's not going to take long for him to find it,
Yeah, and like the big thing about the class, Entangled Gunfighting, is, I say in the beginning and probably all throughout the class, is like, I really want you to think about what kind of fight is this right now? Is this a grappling fight or is this a gunfight? It can for sure be both, but most of the time, like you said, people are in situations where it's probably just going to be a grappling fight. And so this class opens up people's minds to the idea, maybe people that you and I both know that carry guns every day, but they realize, like, they don't know what to do when someone grabs them in the parking lot, other than just kind of wrestling around like they did when they were a kid. So
right.
I emphasize in this class a lot, like, what kind of fight is this right now? Like, it might just be a grappling fight. And at some point, if you're doing the grappling fight well enough and it needs to be a gunfight, then you're in a position to make it a very quick gunfight, or you're just in the position to just keep it a grappling fight and just move on. And that's probably better for a lot of people if it stays that way, if the situation, calls for it. So as far as the big takeaways from the class is just the idea of, like, just because you have a gun on you when somebody grabs you doesn't mean that it's a gunfight. And in the class, you'll see a lot of people who maybe are more confident with the gun than they are the grappling, and they try to pull the gun out first to try to fix the problem. And then it becomes this problem of, well, now you have both going on. You have a gunfight and you have a grappling fight, which is way harder than just dealing with a grappling fight. And so that's one of the big components of the class, is trying to get people to think, like, what am I doing right now? Like, I'm trying to get the dominant position right now. Then I'm going to worry about the gun if I need to. And that's the angle that I attack it from, especially in the one-day format, of just learning the skills necessary. That's why 2/3 of the class is non-shooting techniques. This is grappling stuff, because the majority of the time, that's where you're going to find yourself.
Right on. Now, definitive shotgun. I posted in my alumni group earlier, actually asking if anyone had shotgun questions. I think there's a couple. I'll check back on that. But shotgun guys are not as easy to find as like AR guys, AK guys, pistol guys, right? So I've like started going down there that path. I think it's an extremely viable tool. First off, could you talk about the place you see a shotgun fits for someone's defensive situation, and then talk about the class?
Yeah, so the place, in my opinion, the place a shotgun fits is anywhere that someone needs to be shot, and it's within that distance that your buckshot will perform adequately, right? So the place that it fits is obviously people talk about home defense, and that's totally fine. People talk about if they're in their place of business, shotguns are fine there. But any place that your distance doesn't outperform the buckshot in the gun, the shotgun works. And not only does the shotgun work, it's the most lethal thing you can put in your hands. Like, not only does it work, it's really fucking good at what it does, as long as you do your job, which with the shotgun, your job comes before the shooting, because you have to figure out what kind of gear works in whatever situation that you find yourself in. And obviously with the addition of slugs, the shotgun could work in a truck. It could work in your car. I think when we start talking about like truck guns, or a couple 100-yard shots, then we start getting into rifles as a preferred way. But if you're in a position where usually home defense is where most people think of it, or even just like my house, my property, which is a little less than half an acre, a shotgun works on all boundaries of my property. So that's what I have. That's what I use it for. Aside from the fact that shotguns are everywhere. So whenever somebody comes to you and they find out you've taken a class and they show you this shotgun that they bought from the gun store, you're now the expert. So being able to pass that knowledge on is another reason why the class, in my opinion, is important.
Now, so what kind of things are you going to go over in your class?
Yeah, so the shotgun class, I've taken, probably just as many shotgun classes as I have like rifle classes, or maybe slightly less. And one thing I noticed from the shotgun classes at other companies, which have great classes, is they tend to get into the weeds on stuff a lot. Like they get into the minutia on like a 2-day shotgun class. And so when I was developing this class, I thought to myself, like, if it's going to be a 1-day class, what do I have to teach people in 1 day to make them an asset in a shotgun fight? And it really comes down to 2 things. The first thing is they have to know how their buckshot performs, like straight up. They have to know if the buckshot they're carrying is a pile of hot garbage or if it's actually the best that's available out there. And if they don't have good stuff, then we want to make sure that we have stuff for them to try so that when they leave, they know exactly what kind of buckshot that they need in their gun. And along those lines, kind of dispelling that myth that I think even well-established training companies have, where they say, like, if it's past 20 yards, just put a slug in it, and it's like we can get you hits out to, 35 to 45 yards with the right kind of buckshot. Right. And that's with a stock cylinder bore gun. So the first part of the day is figuring out how your buckshot patterns. I talk about like what I look for in a buckshot pattern. I talk about how I pattern my guns. That takes the first 2 or 3 hours of the day. The second part of the day, or the second part of the class, is just simply, we're just going to shoot these guns a lot, because the other part to knowing how your shotgun patterns, in my opinion, is knowing how to keep it loaded and how to keep it running. So the first half of the day is buckshot patterning, kind of what I think is important. So my methodology on buckshot stuff and what I think should be in your gun and what you should expect out of your gun. And the second 2/3 of the day is just shooting a couple 100 rounds of birdshot so that we can run you through as many iterations of keeping the gun loaded. Because if I can get you confident with how the buckshot hits and what kind of buckshot should be in your gun, then I just want to get you more proficient at keeping it loaded. Because once you start shooting these things, they tend to unload themselves rather quickly. And so those are the 2 main components of the class. Pretty simple. There's some other stuff sprinkled in there. We talk about a lot of shotgun myths. We try to dispel as many as we can during the class. But other than that, those are the two major components of the class.
Did I ever send you my the skit I did with Ashley of just rack the shotgun to scare the bad guy away?
I don't know if you sent it to me. Did you put that on your on the reels that you make, or was that a separate video?
No, it's an older one. It's a couple years old. It's back when we were living in the shitbox trailer when I first started the company.
Oh no, I don't think I've seen that one.
Okay, all right. I think he'll dig it if you got a goofy sense of humor like me. But yeah, because that was like the one thing that it drives me nuts every time I hear it is, just rack the shotgun, let's scare him away. Like, oh yeah, he's over there. He's afraid to keep his gun loaded. Probably has fucking birdshot in it, like my neighbor over there. And
well, and you know that's the thing about racking the shotgun that we talk about in the class is like let's talk about the negatives of doing that, right? The first thing, maybe not the first, but one of the things is that you're telling everybody where you are, first of all.
Yeah.
Okay. Secondly, probably most importantly, you're fighting with one less round in the gun because the chamber was empty. So now you have one less round in the shotgun, right? And so like all these things are, and then finally, like the third thing is, you know, if these things fall over, like the question is, did they just indiscriminately start going off? And like that's something else we talk about in the class. I won't give that away. But you know, the idea that if you have a shotgun next to your bed or in your gun safe and it just falls over, like is it going to go off? I mean, if you really want to know the answer, come take the class. But you know, like we don't want to give our position away. We don't want to start a gunfight with, you know, in some cases 20% less ammunition. And so, you know, in the class handout, I have a whole page of this about racking the shotgun and the stuff it takes away from you. And really, like, what do you have to gain from it? Like, possibly you may scare someone away, but if racking the shotgun will scare somebody away, so will saying, so will announcing yourself, right? Because they're not scared of the shotgun, they're scared of you with the shotgun. So,
yes.
You know, those are all myths that, among other things, I think the shotgun has the most myths attached to it, like in the firearms world, which is great. That's one of the reasons I love teaching the class, because people leave the class like, oh, like maybe it's not like that, or maybe because my neighbor who used to be a cop told me this, that maybe that's not actually like how we have to do things. And you can actually see a lot of other myths in the gun world that originate from shotgun myths, you know, like even rifles that people keep chamber empty, like that comes like from shotguns. Like all of that trickles down to the myths that shotguns kind of perpetuated way back in the day. And we just never really started questioning it.
It's even a military thing. Like people talk about, you know, like, oh, Israeli carry. It's like, hey, dude, that's a whole U.S. military too. You know, that's also why like you get flagged by servicemen a lot. You know.
Oh yeah, like
they're so used to the gun being unloaded.
The second people start carrying empty chambers, they start pointing that shit at everybody. That's a whole other topic, but it's like, you know, like we can talk about like shotguns and like what the manufacturer says, but we can talk about all gun manufacturers, and they don't say point these things at people because they don't want the liability of what these things could do. So like, so we talk about a lot of myths about the shotgun. We talk a lot about gear. I'm not a huge gear guy. I'm as much of a gear guy as I have to be. We talk about differences between semi-auto and pumps. We talk about different sight options, the pros and the cons, and we talk about the history of the shotgun. Like people don't realize that the shotgun has been in every armed conflict since World War I. Like it's the only gun to participate in all of them, as far as I know. Almost to the point that the Germans in World War I tried to get them banned after World War I because they were so devastating. Like they hated the shotguns. They'd never seen one before, but they saw what it did. And that was very primitive, with primitive ammunition technology, with, you know, World War I tactics and all that kind of stuff that comes along with that. And in that setting, mostly in the trench warfare, like these things excelled to the point that the Germans after World War I, when they were making their concessions, were trying to get these things banned in future warfare. But they've stuck around and they've killed people in every single conflict, starting with World War I.
Yeah. Now, and so something I'd like to mention about like where, you know, one of the advantages of a shotgun is if you think about like, okay, you know, mindset, tactics, skills, gear, right? If you and the bad guy have amazing skills, you're both pointing a gun at each other in the torso somewhere, you both have enough time to press the trigger one time, the shotgun is going to do a better job than the rifle. Like, one trigger press of that is going to lay out more projectiles. You want a pretty decent speed. It's going to do a lot of damage, right? So it's like, that's one of the things I think about with a shotgun, and especially why I'm like, damn, I want to drop money on a beast-ass semi-auto shotgun right now, is because, you know, when you watch someone go, you just like are imagining 9 pellets of buck hitting each one of those targets, like dead. It's a devastating weapon.
Yeah. And there's in the class, there's a book that I recommended to hand out. It's from the 1960s, or it talks about a time in the 1960s in Dallas, Texas, where it was after World War II. So the 50s and 60s, crime was rampant. Violent crime was huge in the United States. And so Dallas was having, like most big cities, was having a large string of robberies at their convenience stores and at their laundromats and everywhere else. And so that, you know, again, different time we could say in police work. Dallas's answer back then was, we'll just put armed cops in these establishments, and then when the bad guys come to rob them, the cops will shoot them, and there will be less of them, and that will help stop the problem. It's great. It's a novel idea. But it was called this group was called the Shotgun Squad because, you know, in the 50s and even early 60s, the shotgun was what you had, and so the book, like you said, lays out the idea. I don't know the statistics to be sure, but like most of the cases in the book that talk about a specific incident where someone got shot with buckshot and they got hit with all the pellets, that person was dead. Like there was just very rarely that person ran off. Like if they got shot with a pistol or even a rifle, to be honest with you. And so like that book, the book really is more like the story, but if you kind of read between the lines, and this is with 1950s and 60s, you know, lead projectiles, no advanced wad design, all those things that we have now. And, you know, probably the you know, gunpowder solutions were probably not near as potent as they are now, all that technology stuff. And they were still dropping people to the point that like, that was the preferred way that these teams set up in these convenience stores is they always had a shotgun. That's why they call themselves the Shotgun Squad. So the lethality is unmatched. That doesn't mean I don't have a rifle when I travel. When I come to Florida, like there's an AK that rides with me because, you know, that solves more of those longer range problems. But other than that, you know, anytime that I'm within the limits of my buckshot, like I'm carrying a shotgun.
Right. So now let's take I'm going to take a couple questions from my alumni group. First, we have Max Lozana. No, fuck him. We'll take his next. We'll do Casey Kemp first.
Max is actually taking the shotgun class, so
yeah, and he still is going to ask questions. All right. So Casey Kemp, I expect to see him in both classes. All right. So I had all right. Do you like Remington pump guns? Or no?
It depends what year we're talking about. If it's like the police magnums from like 20 years ago, then I would say they're pretty equal to the Mossberg counterpart. But anything in the past 10 to 15 years with Remington's name on it, especially their 870, I wouldn't take one unless you gave it to me, you know?
So I had bought a police magnum.
Yeah.
And it ran like shit. And I was being accused of short stroking it and shit. It was jamming and fighting shotgun. They're like, you're not pumping it hard off. I'm like, okay, all right. I fucking weigh like 250. I'm strong enough to pump the gun. I'm violent on it. It just, it was running like shit. I told Casey about all this stuff. And I was like, hey, you know, if you want it, the problems come with it. It's having problems. So since he owns my problem gun now, he is asking, is there a way damn, I can't read. What the fuck? All right. Is there a easy way to replace an 870 ejector spring without drilling out the rivet, without drilling the rivet out and re-welding or riveting in place?
So I will be the first to admit I am not an armorer with really anything, especially shotguns. I think I've had a very similar problem to that with my 870. After a couple of tactical response classes, it was something with the ejector. And to answer his question, I honestly don't know. I'm not an armorer. Most people that armors or gunsmiths know how to work on them, which is great. But I don't even want to pretend like I can answer his question, other than I can tell you I've had an extractor or something or another break, and it will stop the whole gun. So if that's what he's experiencing, I've been there, along with about 6 other things on that gun. But that was the one thing that caused me to go to a gunsmith to get it fixed.
Yeah, even Tim, like he was like, "Oh, let's you should bring it to this guy over in Nashville." But basically, it'd be like, it go boom, I'd pump back, and then I go to pump forward, and it'd be like, it would get stopped.
That's exactly the same problem that mine had. I actually knew a firefighter that retired that started his own gunsmithing business. He was by no means like a well-established gunsmith, but he could figure it out. And I'm sure there's guys, that know how to work on them. I've never taken an armor class with Remington. By the time I got into police work, they were kind of phasing shotguns out and they quit sending guys. But the biggest thing I tell you, it sounds like the exact same problem I had. It doesn't go all the way forward in the battery, essentially. And I don't think that's something that I was confident trying to figure out. It was honestly, for me, it was just trying to diagnose it, so I wasn't spending all my time just figuring out what was going on. Yeah, I mean, if he's having an issue like that needs to go to somebody that is like certified in the 870s, which is most gunsmiths, to try to figure out, because you're right. Like, I don't know how yours was. Mine would like work a little bit, and I would fuck with something on the gun, and I would lube it up some more, and then it would work okay, and then it wouldn't, and it was super finicky. Mine wasn't an old police magnum. I haven't had a lot of issues out of the police magnums that have come through class. It's more of the past 10 years or so, 870s, after Remington got bought out 4 or 5 times. That's when they all started to be junk.
Yeah. And there's a myth right there. Oh, shotguns never jam. Revolvers never jam. AKs never jam.
It's like nothing ever jam. Yeah, it's like nothing ever malfunctions if you don't ever fucking shoot it, So like,
exactly.
People that put a revolver in their sock and in their dresser, that thing's gonna work forever, and it's like shotguns are kind of the same way. Once you go to a class, I'm sure you've taught some of you've been in some where like they're just dropping left and right. Like these shotguns, depending on what kind. Some of the newer ones, like the Beretta 1301s, are a good example. Some of the newer, even like Mossberg pumps, are generally okay. But it's just like, that's another myth that like if you shoot these enough, like there's a reason I own 3 loaner shotguns. I don't own them because I always loan out 3 shotguns. I own 3 loaner shotguns because I teach shotgun classes and they fucking break all the time, and I just give them out. And usually they'll, one of mine will stop running once I hand it out. So it's like the same with revolvers. I took a revolver class like a month ago down in Arkansas, and we only had 1 revolver go down, but that's because everybody brought some pretty quality stuff. But it's like I've taken other revolver classes where like dudes are on their 2nd or 3rd revolver, and it's just like revolvers like handle neglect very well. Like you can leave it in a sock drawer for 30 years and it probably still works, but you go out and start abusing it, they do not handle abuse very well at all. The shotguns are in the same category. They do not handle abuse very well generally, but they do handle neglect. You can sit that thing on the side of your bed for 20 years and it probably still works.
Yeah, well, that's funny too, because like first revolver first revolver I shot as an adult, I would say. It was out of time. Like the 5th round never worked. So it's like,
that's like big problem. Yeah. Usually with a revolver, you just use a little toothbrush action on the cylinder. You're good to go. You just pop that extractor out and use the toothbrush there, and you're good to go. The shotguns, like someone here commented, like once it starts fucking up, like it's time to take it either to the crusher or it's time to take it to the armor. Like maybe not in that order, armor then crusher, but like once you start having those problems with shotguns or revolvers, now that we're talking about it, they usually are like, they will stop. Whereas with a semi-automatic pistol or semi-automatic rifle, I can usually get it working again. You know what I mean? I can usually fix it out, whether it's the magazine, whether it's something in the chamber, whatever. I can usually get it to work again. Revolvers and even shotguns, like when they're done, like they're pretty much like tapped out until somebody at a higher level looks at it.
All right, now Max has 3 questions, so let's keep his answers short because fuck Max. All right, why is a 300 better than a 1301?
A300 is not better than a 1301. Actually, it's the same gun. The only difference is the A300, you can't put a Magpul stock on it. And I'm such a fanboy of the Magpul stocks that I will buy the 1301 and buy the adapter from Aridus Industries and then buy the stock because I like it that much better. So they're both reliable. They both work. I would get the 1301 because I feel like the customizable options you can put on there are better than what Beretta puts on the A300 from the factory.
Yeah, I would tell everyone also look at the new model, the 1301. Also, I'm after that one right now. I'm like, I got some other shit I got to pay for, but then I want to get that bad boy. All right, Max, it's the next question. How much do you have to beat a shotgun to make it drop the firing pin? And I think the good answer to that is Max already knows, and you should come to class and find out.
Yeah, the answer is I don't know because I've been trying to beat the fuck out of these things for years to try to get them to go off, and I haven't been able to by slamming these things on the ground. So I haven't broken any firing pins. I haven't set any off by slamming them on the ground or dropping them or throwing them 20 feet in the air and watching them fall to the ground. So the answer is, and I think Max saw in the demonstration in class, not to give too much away, is that I don't know because I haven't been able to do it. And I honestly don't know anyone else who's been able to do it like in person. Everybody always talks about this, like, oh, well, it could happen. Or this one time in 1970, a cop's shotgun went off in his trunk. And it's like, well, how do we know that actually is what happened? How do we know the cop wasn't jacking it and set it off? And then claim that the slam brakes really hard. I don't know. Like, I'm a very skeptical person when it comes to stuff like that. So you got to show me some evidence. I'm also see, like one video of the internet of somebody making one of these go off by slamming them on the ground. I just haven't seen it.
It's like it was like I was talking about. Man, I forget if I was just talking about with Jay. I know I've mentioned it in class, but I'm pretty sure that the United States of America, the shot heard round the world, I'm pretty sure we were founded on an ND. Like,
yeah. Like, you know that like, that dude was just like waiting. He was just like, it was touching it.
Quick shoot.
And then all hell broke loose, and we're better off for it. You know. Yeah, you're probably right.
All right. Okay. In what ways does federal flight control suck? Another Max question. God, he's such a jackass.
The only way federal flight control sucks is that Defiant doesn't make something that is as good, because that's the only thing that can make it better is if Pete made something that performed better. There's nothing that performs better than federal flight control. There's some things that, depending on your shotgun, may be adequate, I guess you could say. But you know, it's like if your shotgun shoots whatever buckshot you have right now, great, it will shoot flight control better. It's the same idea that if somebody has a pump shotgun and they train a lot with it and they're really proficient, you put a semi-automatic shotgun in their hand and they'll be better. You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean, the flight control is the top of the top. It works in every gun. It makes every pattern better. And that does get into like what do we think is a better pattern, right? Is a better pattern a better spread? Is it a tighter spread? That's one thing in the class we talk about. You know, but if you're a believer and you want that pattern as tight as possible so it can reach out further and so you can account for those rounds, federal flight control, as of right now, there's nothing better out there.
Right on. Yeah. Well, maybe Pete will make it because I know he is doing a signature box of ammo for Tim Morris. It's a alternating 410 bird shot and 45 long. So maybe a hint of burning powder in there with some flame. But we'll see after that comes out.
I know Tim would love to get that in his Taurus Judge. He could just run that, and he could run just a ball round, and he could run maybe a blank or something in there, snake shot. Yeah, I know Tim's been wanting to sell a 5-pack of that for a while.
I know in Tim's Glock the first round is a blank, and that's just to scare him away. The next 3 are a ball because he doesn't want to waste good Defiant on someone who's just having a bad fentanyl trip, and then he goes to Defiant after that. So.
Well, it's funny. Tim actually told me his first round is actually a chloroform capsule that flies out. And then so once that hits you, then Tim can determine what he's going to do with you, which could mean a lot of different things.
I was thinking of his backup gun. I forgot the chloroform is the primary.
Yeah, that's the primary. No matter if you're a bad guy or just someone that he's contractually obligated to spend time with for 6.5 minutes or whatever it costs. I don't know.
All right, now let's start hitting some of the chat. All right, you guys see the stuff that I haven't read yet, so I'm going through it. Hello, sirs. Hello, Mike. Uncle Guns. What's up? I wish I knew who you really were. You comment a lot, but I'm like that. You could be my best friend. That I don't even know. It just says Uncle Guns. Rich Eleby, Max, Amhall. What's up, man? Joseph. Hello from South Carolina. Butch Becker. What's up, man? Turtle. Shout out to Turtle with our Iron Pig armament.
Oh, okay.
I got to shoot one of his blasters a little bit here recently. Got it all zeroed up. Excited to take my daughter out and have her try out that rifle. I've been taking classes. I haven't gotten a chance to do much filming at the range recently. Stoked for V4 fanny pack. I don't know when that's gonna be. Austin, what's up, man? Austin, I just got your ACSS red dot mounted up on a Glock 17 with a aim surplus slide. If you can get a slide and barrel for $200. Shire, hello, and then Thomas. You're Zach, are you trying to post in the comments or?
Yeah, well, I can't figure out how to post that link for the sign up.
Oh, okay. Here, I'll do it for you.
Yeah, so whenever you get a chance. Sorry,
I don't know if you have if you're looking at the same thing as me.
Yeah, there's no way that I can post in the chat, or at least not that I can see. So that's why I sent it. There you go. That's for the people that are here. That's how you sign up for the class. Make sure you click on the class in Florida. If you sign up for one of the classes, you can do it individually. If you sign up for both, look for the picture of Tim Morris holding an AK-74 to hot tub. That's the combo class. For this live stream, I took $25 off the price for each of the classes for the Florida classes. So if you sign up tonight, here within an hour or so, it will be discounted by $25 per class, $50 if you sign up for both. And that's how you can sign up for them.
And also, especially any of my students, but I got extra shotguns. If you don't own a shotgun yet, you don't have to go buy one. And I would say too, if you were like, man, I want a shotgun, but I don't want to invest all my money in it, I wouldn't be afraid of getting a Maverick 88. That's actually what I switched to in way of the shotgun after my 870 wasn't working, and it ran perfectly fine.
Yeah. I don't have any major issues with those other than, like every shotgun, you may see a couple that don't work perfectly, but the Maverick 88s are fine. I have a 870, a 590, and then I have a Beretta 1301, just because those are if you have a 1301, like usually someone shoots one of those three type of guns. So I try to give them one that is similar to what they had. However, if you don't have a shotgun and you sign up, like if you don't want to invest in one, or if whatever, you can always just let me know, send me an email or something, or a Facebook message, and I can keep one of those for you. But it seems like a lot of times we'll have like a husband sign up and he has a shotgun, but the wife doesn't. So like if she doesn't have a shotgun and you can't or don't want to buy one right now, like I've got loaners. I know you've got several loaners. And one of my loaners is a 1301. So as long as you call dibs on it, you can take the class with the 1301.
Damn, I might call dibs on it.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. So and even if you don't call dibs on it, you can still shoot it. Like the shotgun class is much like some of the revolver classes I've been to, where it's kind of like a show and tell at the end, depending on how much time you have, where you can try the gear, because the gear is so different and the gear is so important. I want you to be able, if you don't know what a semi-automatic shotgun feels like to shoot, like I want you to experience that, especially if you're someone or your wife is someone that you're like, well, it's just a little too much recoil. Like give them a Beretta 1301 and they'll instantly understand why that's the answer.
Mm-hmm. Gary Mars here. Hello, sir. He said, you can get a dog tag at the end. Tell them about the tag.
Oh, yeah. So for each one of my classes that a student takes, as long as it's not a class I've taken before for me, they get a dog tag. So after they take the first class, after they'll take Entangled Gunfighting, they get a dog tag that has a white border on it. When they come back and they take the shotgun class or any other class, as long as it's not the same one they took before, I will. There's a small test, if you will. It involves a pistol. I'll just leave it at that. And if you complete the test, you get a blue dog tag. And then if you come back and take a different class at any location, you get a purple tag, and then you get a brown tag, and then you get a black tag. So there's 5 different levels. It doesn't mean at the end that you're like a black belt of shooting or anything like that. It just shows progression and the skill that it involves to get the next tag with a pistol is what I would consider like a fundamental skill. It's not some crazy like Bruce Lee kind of thing. It's just a very simple skill that you should be able to execute on command. And as long as you can do that, regardless of what the class is, if it's a shotgun class, we still use the pistol. If it's the Entangled Gunfighting class, we still use a pistol. But you can progress your way through white, blue, purple, brown, and black, which are also the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu belt colors, just coincidentally. And so that just kind of shows progression. With my company, it's a little like marketing thing. It's something else I can give the student besides a certificate, and I just kind of something unique that I just try to do. So that's what the tags are.
Nice. Mike Fiore said, I don't need to learn hand-to-hand skills. When someone comes at me, I see red, they'll regret it.
Yeah, I mean, Mike see red, like the jury's probably going to see red, the prosecutor's going to see red, like, yeah. Mike's bank account's going to see red, like all kinds of but no, Mike's obviously being facetious. Mike's taken my shotgun class, and Mike's been one of my great friends for many, many years. Mike and I share a mutual respect and love for White Castle that not everybody in this community shares. I know,
dude.
I don't even want to call people out on this live stream that don't like White Castle, but there are several that are lurking among us.
It's probably Max, right?
I actually don't know Max's view on White Castle. I don't think I'm like
Max hates White Castle.
he hates it.
Max hates White Castle.
Oh well, Mike loves it.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, and so not everybody likes it, but when I found out Mike has an affinity for White Castle, we became even closer. So,
dude, so we just have a Dollar General out here, like that's all.
I figured you had
and it's a 15-minute drive to get there too.
Oh yeah,
but they got those frozen. There's nothing healthy there besides the salads, and those are all expired. I
didn't know they had salad at Dollar General. Oh, okay.
Yeah, man.
Okay.
And we got that Dollar General market. There's potatoes too,
Yeah.
They have those White Castle like microwave burgers, and I got some of those. I heat them up. I was like, holy shit, I have to go to a White Castle, and they're like the closest one is like 8 states away. We have Crystal, but I grew up in Minnesota, and we had that there.
Crystal, yeah, I've heard of those. We had 2 White Castles, and in my bougie suburban town, they shut one of them down, but we still got the other one. But it's like do you go bad or do you go stupid places? Like, and it's like, yeah, actually I do have White Castle. Like, I'm just gonna just deal with it. And so
I'm not gonna not have White Castle.
Yeah, I'm gonna calculate the risk, and I'm gonna try to go with as many friends. Like when I went with Mike and 2 other friends, like it was 4 of us in a car. Like it was not the car to fuck with if you want to focus on White Castle. And we got the White Castle and we left, and 50% of the occupants of the car immediately started just telling us how horrible we were at everything in life. And Mike and I went back home and we split a crib case, and we're better for it. So
if you're looking for the shotgun guys, check the gay bars from Gary.
Check the gay. I'll venture to say that some of the most like hard-nosed dudes have killed people with shotguns, but I don't.
Well, Max agreed with them, so they're both wrong.
Well, I mean, it sounds like they've both been to a lot more gay bars recently than the rest of us, so we'll just let them have that little point, because maybe if you go to a gay bar, maybe they are carrying shotguns around. If they are, tell me, because I'd like to go and like hang out with these people, but
it'd be a scary ass gay bar.
Or maybe it'd be the coolest fucking place you've ever been if they're just toting shotguns around talking about whatever. So
Sonny Pazikis is in here.
Hello, yeah, it's all Sonny. Hello, sir.
And then everyone says hi to Sonny. Scatterguns are dope. Hey, Zach, I can't wait for August. from Bermudas. That's
Oh,
really
RJ. Yeah. So
Calvin. What's up, man?
I'm in August. I'm going to Pennsylvania a few times, at least twice that I know about now. I'm teaching at the muster. We're talking about retention shooting at Trimus Dynamics Muster. If you haven't gone to the muster, if you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, look it up. It is the best like 1 day training event out there for a lot of different reasons. They have all kinds of instructors come in. It's a long day. It's a 12, 14-hour day, but it's awesome. Last year, I did the buckshot, the long-range buckshot, where we shot targets at like 150 yards with buckshot. This year, I'm going to talk about retention shooting and why like a lot of places I think get it wrong or don't expand on it enough. And then I'll be coming back, I think 2 weeks after that, I forget the dates, to teach entangled gunfighting and retention shooting in Pennsylvania. So you can check out that link that you posted earlier. There's two Pennsylvania classes on there. It's entangled gunfighting and retention shooting. So that's probably what RJ is talking about.
Right on. Yeah, I just posted it again, and then I'm also going to give myself a shout out for that one, because I'm going to be up there, and Jay and I are going to be doing patrolling the homestead. So Jay Gibson of Praelectus Training and Tactical Response. I think it's the weekend before. Let me look. I got the dates right here.
Okay, yeah.
In Pennsylvania, it'll be July 27th and 28th, Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll be up there for the muster. I'm very excited for that too. I'm dropping a link for that right now, folks. I'm very excited for that because I've heard such good things about the muster. I'm sticking around. I know Gary and Sonny are doing some force on force stuff. 3 days of it, gonna be pretty intense. I got some questions I want to get answered and see what things we can test too, because that's always a cool thing about interacting with dudes who train and with instructors is kind of bouncing different ideas off of them and seeing what they come up with, because everyone looks at things differently. One thing I really love doing is when I got a brand new student, I'll ask them to define something in like a simpler term than, like, hey, how would you define how to hit the target, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, in as few words as possible, he said true aiming. I'm like,
yeah,
like that. Yeah. Because I always say, like, keep the sights on the target while you press the trigger. You know? I guess true aiming is a good way to put that.
Yeah. You're right. Those are the two fundamentals. Contrary to what the government organizations have taught me over the years, those are the only two that fucking matter. The other ones are cool and they're important, I guess, but like they're not fundamentals. But anyway.
Sonny said, relating to the World War I shotguns talk, it was World War I tactics are proving themselves not extinct and very much relevant.
Yeah, I would agree. Not just in the like wartime, battlefield scenario, which I would agree with him as well, but also like those tactics are very applicable like in your house. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of similarities when it comes to shooting someone that close or just killing someone that close. Like there's a lot of similarities. And we all want to talk about the new things and the new training and the new tactics. And like he said, sometimes it's not that far removed from 100 years ago,
Rich asking about who had the problem with my old shotgun. That was Casey Kemp, and I think the solution we came up with was send it out to Wilson Combat and just have them do it over. I'm like, yeah, that's a good idea. You'll be happy with it at the end.
Yeah, they'll definitely fix whatever's wrong with it, and then they'll definitely make it more shootable and probably more reliable. If but if someone doesn't want to spend that kind of money, just a local gunsmith or armorer, especially if they claim, especially if they're like a shotgun armorer, they can usually figure that stuff out. But yeah, Wilson Combat. I don't have any guns from Wilson Combat. I know back in the day that was like the cat's meow of the shotgun. And then semi-autos started coming out, and then I think people started going more towards that direction for good reason. But I don't have any affiliation with those people. But I've shot a couple of shotguns from them over the years, and they're definitely like smooth actions. Like the pump actions are like butter.
Thomas Holyby says my 1911 never jammed.
Well, yeah,
Said,
mine actually doesn't either because I don't have one. And if I did, I would never shoot it. And when I had a Para Ordnance 1911, that thing ran great when it's set in my closet. But when I took it to the range, that's when it just shit the bed.
RJ says, I learned the hard way that the shockwave is stupid. What do you think about shockwave?
Oh, it's stupid. Well, I don't know if it's stupid. I don't want to say a gun's stupid, but it has a very limited practicality, right? So like I honestly can't think of a scenario where I would want one of those besides a regular shot. Like I just can't think of a way of a time when I just can't think of a time. And if I could, then I would just get an AK folder. I feel like that would be the same thing.
Dude, yeah, it's like law folders. I'm like, or Draco, like
yeah, or just some kind of folder. I know when those shockwaves came out, it was cool, and like I was glad that it kind of re-energized some of the shotgun market. But they're terrible to shoot. They're just hard to shoot. It's like anything else. Like when the gun gets smaller, it's harder to shoot. Typically, like when the shotguns get smaller, they're harder to shoot. It's the same principle.
Now we were talking about it, I think you had said that you hadn't messed with them before, but I've seen 12 gauge flares as being a thing, and so I was also talking about with Gary is it'd be kind of cool to have to get a shockwave. I'm really just trying to justify buying one because I fucking want it,
Yeah,
and
maybe like a breaching gun, maybe.
Yeah, breaching. I mean, I think from a vehicle. Dudes trying to get into a door or a window of your vehicle, maybe. One thing, shooting from a moving vehicle is not easy. So I would really like to test it with buckshot because if I'm going to take a shot from a vehicle that's moving, I have to be comfortable with missing that shot too. Like not think that there's going to be a regrettable ricochet or something like that.
And if you're driving a vehicle, the pump shotgun typically takes two hands to run efficiently. So
no, I wouldn't be driving and shooting.
Oh, okay, I got you. I think like you were driving your car and some Dollar General people were trying to get in while you're driving down the road. Like that would be a pistol solution in my opinion. But yeah, if you're the passenger, I still would think a full-length shotgun would be fine, or anything else really. But yeah, people, if it gets someone into shotguns. I've had two of the people like take my shotgun class, and in the morning they'll say, "Hey, can I try the shockwave?" And I'm like, "You can try it, but I just hope you have something else." And within the second or third drill with the birdshot after lunch, they're like most of the time they don't even say anything. They just put it away to real quiet because they don't want people to know how terrible it is. And that's shooting birdshot, not shooting buckshot.
Yeah.
But if that's how someone gets into it, or if that's their thing, like we got way worse things we can spend our money on, I guess. So it's cool.
Yeah. Mac stock is a good upgrade. There's a couple of federal rounds that do almost as good as flight control for slightly cheaper.
It depends on the gun. So there are some guns that will shoot. I know Hornady makes a flight control competitor. Because Federal has the patent on the actual wad design. That's really like why theirs is so good. So yeah, like some of the Hornady stuff, there's like different velocities with different Hornady shells, and they're okay. But flight control works in everything. And if you can't find flight control, which you always can if you're willing to pay for it on the internet, but the Hornady stuff probably is what I would call just a few steps below flight control.
Okay. And goddamn, there's a lot of comments. All right, Entangled when is Entangled Shotgun happening from Gary?
Entangled Shotgun. Well, the skills you learn in Entangled Gunfighting can apply to whatever's in your hands. As people will see in the class, here in 3 weeks or whenever it is, when you start grappling and you have a gun in your hand, the grappling gets way more difficult. So like, I couldn't imagine having a shotgun in my hands. And you're tying up both your upper limbs. So, I mean, you can do it, but people have a hard enough time figuring out that puzzle of what do I do when one of my hands is occupied, and I have to be aware of where I point this hand. Entangled shotgun would probably work too. It's just, you might want to start off with just a regular entangled gunfighting first.
Richard Elby said, avoided cleaning a partner for a year before fighting shotgun, made it through no problem.
Yeah, so cleaning shotguns, kind of like semi-automatic pistols, in my opinion. Like, it's not so much how often you clean your semi-automatic pistols and rifle; it's how often do you lubricate them. I don't even know. I know when I got my Beretta 1301, I took it completely apart when I first got it to put some of the Airtus Industries accessories on it. I have not taken that thing apart to clean it since, and it's in every one of my classes. At this point, I'm just kind of trying to see. I don't want to see where the failure point is because it is the gun that I would grab at home, but I'm still confident every time I teach the shotgun class, like it runs just like it does. I will take it apart and clean it, I promise, at some point. But yeah, like some of these shotguns, especially as long as they're lubricated, most of the shotguns that go down in my class and other class I've taken as a student, especially the pumps, are usually under lubricated, and that's what usually causes them to not be able to get the full motion. And so that's a big part of it. But there are some shotguns out there, especially some semi-autos, that I think can really run for a long time.
Hall normally don't like White Castle, but they hit the spot after your bachelor party.
Yeah, Adam came down for my bachelor party a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago maybe, and I don't remember them going. I didn't go to White Castle, but I woke up at some point and there was White Castle in my kitchen, which is the best way to wake up.
Oh, hell yeah!
So it was a good night. I appreciate Adam being put together enough. Whoever it was that got White Castle, that it ended up at my house.
Oh man, I hope I can take it. I don't think I'm taking Ashley up north. We'll see. Chuck, what's up? You need to come to Florida too. For everyone who's been trying to contact me, apparently it was my boomer brain fault why my phone wasn't activated. I tried to put my Apple ID on the phone before activating the phone, whatever. The end of the story is I hate two-factor authentication, and now I'm locked out of my Apple ID, but I think my phone works. So everyone who has my number, go ahead, text me your full name, and I can start saving numbers again. And then I'll get confused when I can unlock my fucking Apple ID. Dude, I'm like sitting on the computer for 4 hours when it's like, okay, trying to log in Apple. Well, what's your old debit card number? I don't fucking know. Trying to log into my old bank account to see if there's a way. And then it's like, all right, well, we sent a text to your phone. Like, oh, that number I can't fucking use. And then I try calling, but I'm in the middle of nowhere and calling not work. So I now have two phone numbers. And so when one breaks, I'm just going to fucking work this one and then hopefully not have to go to the store. I'll just do the claim.
Oh, yes.
Hey, it's $10 more a month. I'm doing it. Fuck it. Like,
yeah.
Save that day. I will do that.
Two-factor authentication crap. A lot of the stuff I have to log in for work. Every morning, it's just this battle of like, which one of these apps is going to block me out this time? And, a lot of the stuff that I use, if you get kicked out twice, you got to contact an administrator to get back in. Well, they don't work like all the hours that everyone works. And so there's so many times I'm like I'm literally just trying to clock in. I'm not trying to look up anybody's information. I'm not doing like triple I checks on anyone. I'm just trying to punch in so I don't get yelled at for not punching in during the right time.
Well, now you're late.
Yeah. And then then you have to go in. And once I do get in, I got to put like a little note about why I didn't clock in with the button or whatever. And it's like, it's like all these, it's like, when did you change your password? But like, listen, man, like I'm all out of passwords. Like I've been playing this game for a while. Every 2 months, I got to change 6 different passwords. Like I can only change them so many times before I use the wrong password twice and then I get blocked out of that system. And I can understand that. It's just, Yeah, it's that 2-factor. It's like 10 years from now, they're gonna have 3-factor authentication. Is it gonna be 4-factor? Like, where does it stop? Like,
I'm gonna stop using a phone. That's why that's where it stops.
like for the first 15 years I used the internet, I had the same password and I never had to change it. And I was fine.
Yeah.
And then the past 10 years, I've had identity theft and all kinds of crap after I've changed my passwords every 4 months. Like, can we
I
just
would
go back to
say
that?
literally identity theft. I've had it happen before. That is much easier to deal with than the 2-factor authentication on fucking Apple, because I can't log in for like a week now, and they're like, they literally put a message like, you can call. It's not going to make it faster. Like, that's one of the notes. It's like, you're recovering your account, bitch. Javier, what's up, man? Everyone needs a shame Javier into coming to class too.
Javier's from the Florida.
Come on, bro. Come on, man.
Isn't he from like Orlando or something? Or I don't know. That's
Jacksonville, I believe.
Yeah. The Florida geography still baffles me, but I'm pretty sure that's a reasonable drive. That's definitely more reasonable than coming from Indiana. So Javier has taken some of my classes before in Pennsylvania, and I know he can travel, so let's hope he can make it for that.
He'll be there.
Do what?
He'll be there.
Oh, okay. And then funny story about Javier, when he came to Pennsylvania, if you don't know, Javier's from Florida, so he doesn't understand that it gets less than 60 degrees in other parts of the world. And so I forget what it was. It wasn't terribly cold. It may have been in the 60s. Like, I was wearing like shorts and a hoodie, like for Gary's class. And after the first day of class, we went to this like restaurant that we always go to, and Javier and his wife were there first. And Javier's wearing like pants, a big old puffy jacket, like a hat, and he's eating chili. And he's like, it's just too cold here. I don't. And I was just like, this is the Midwest or Eastern Midwest, like. So, but yeah, Javier's great. He's lost a ton of weight. He's still, something that he's still working on. But like, I enjoy having Javier in my shotgun class. Or I don't think he took shotgun. He took entangled gunfighting. Yeah, that's what he took. So hopefully he can get shotgun in this time. And Javier says it was 35 degrees. That is a lie. It was not 35 degrees. It was at least 55. Yeah.
It was negative 30 Celsius.
Oh man. So yeah, if you haven't taken a class as a student with Javier, like, you're fucking missing out. He's a funny dude.
Let's see. Adam Hall, 590A1 can take a bayonet for entangled shotgun.
Yeah, I can.
The best part about bayonets, or at least bayonet lugs, is they scare the fuck out of boomer Democrats, because that was something they needed to ban, was fucking bayonet lugs. Like, holy shit, we have to stop these mass bayonetings. That's actually a short I'm gonna do. I was gonna be like, how scare boomer Democrats? Put a bayonet and go, ooga booga booga.
Yeah. I'm like way more scared about what's going to fly out of the shotgun than I am what's attached to the shotgun. So like, this idea of a bayonet lug is the kind of thing, like, within our people, it's like, oh, cool, bayonet lug. Like, one of us may, we got money to burn, we may buy one, just take a picture with it, and like, this looks cool, but it, like, I don't know, like, how practical. It's just, it's one of those things that it just sounds scary. So like, the other side just attaches to because it sounds scary, and guns are always scary to them. So. Yeah.
You know what? I want to take a like a sword fighting class, because after watching Dune, I have a fascination with a sword about that long, right? So I want a katana, but not the long one, but the shorter one. I forget what it's called. And I'm like, and then that's another thing I'm trying to justify in my brain. What situation would this be good for? Like, okay, can't drive, crowd of people, got to move quiet, katana.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen anybody get hit with a katana, but I have responded to a call where a dude was about to, if the dude came in his house. So like, I've at least been that close to witnessing it, but I think this dude wasn't like legally allowed to possess weapons either. So that was probably the best he could do. But like, he was taking care of it, or almost. Luckily, it didn't get to that point, but yeah, I don't know much about the swords or knives or anything like that, but I can appreciate that it's, that it's certain people are into it.
McRyan you were physically at White Castle, but I don't know if you were mentally at White Castle.
I don't think that's the case. But
Adam Hall mentioned earlier that he liked the Dollar General people comment. One thing Jacob from Exodus Knife and Tool said, or he made an Instagram post one time. He was like, "This is my Waffle House EDC." I'm like, "Yes." We base our EDCs based off what shitty food we're eating.
Is a Waffle House EDC just like a burner phone and like a drop gun? Like, because that's what I carry. Is like once I do the thing, like I'm just dropping everything and just getting out of there. That way they don't have to find it on me later. But no, speaking of Adam, it seems like every time I go take a training class as a student, I always end up calling Adam either on the way there or the way back, especially if the class is like kind of jacked up. And I'm like, dude, I just need you to fix my mindset. Like all these things happened and it wasn't right and whatever. And then usually on the way down there, I'll just text Adam every time I drive by a Dollar General. And I'm like, 1, 2. And, because if I'm driving like when I drove to Arkansas, I didn't see as many as I thought I would. But like when I drove to Florida for vacation in the spring, we like got off on some back roads because of traffic. And it was like we saw like 13 of them and like a distribution center. So like I was that's my new favorite thing. Maybe I'll do that on the business page when I go down to Florida is count the Dollar General.
I've like filmed it a few times, but I've never posted it. I want to do it next time. Every time I go to Tactical Response and I'm going north on 75, it's like world's biggest, greatest porn store in the ever. And it's like Jesus is watching. Like 10 billion DVDs of shaking cunts and like Jesus loves you over here.
Well,
there's apparently the world's biggest porn store.
The Dollar General distribution center was huge, but it actually had like a little gate with like a security guard outside. Like it was legit. It was like I don't know what's probably Georgia, but yeah, I was jokingly thinking about like maybe I should do a raffle like from Indianapolis to Leesburg. How many Dollar Generals do I drive by? And if you guess right, you get like half off a class or something.
That's a good one.
So, but yeah, I've those things. I remember as a kid, like where I grew up wasn't the highest income area, and those were like just starting to pop up. And now it's like, especially in the South, like I would assume that you could get all of your basic necessities met at a Dollar General. It sounds like if you live in the South.
Yeah, so. Well, where we're at, we're 45 minutes from Walmart. But we can go to Walmart, we can go to Publix, but it's like usually we need shit from Walmart. And so we use Kroger's. So we just have food delivered here. That works well. But like we both work from home. So it's like going out to eat is a thing we love to do just to get the fuck out of the house,
Yeah.
But yeah, I honestly don't go to Dollar General that much. It's usually just like, we sucked at grocery shopping and I just want to eat now. That's like the thing.
Yeah.
Chuck said,
go ahead. Well, as I say, Adam also said that some Dollar Generals have gas stations attached to them. I don't know if that's a thing where you are.
It's too fancy for us. We have a market. That's as good as it's going to get.
A market.
Chuck, give me some dates and I'll be there. Look at the fall and winter. Let's not do it during the summer. I think you'll get a better turnout fall and winter. But yeah, come out and let me know what dates you have available. Just text me. 35 degrees. That's a lie. Javier took a 2-day shotgun class with you and Gary.
And that was a couple years ago on I think it was a Black Friday weekend, like 2.5 years ago. Yeah, I forgot he did take that, which was a lot of my 1-day shotgun class. And then the second day was a lot of kind of stuff that I don't really go over that Gary doesn't really go over in his classes.
And then Adam and Gary both corrected me that sword is called a wakizashi. It's just there's long katana and it's the shorter katana.
Okay.
Jacob's Legionnaire blade is almost the perfect size. I don't think I've actually seen it yet. And okay, we'll do. All right, now I have some questions.
Yeah.
So I was looking through your website and oh shit, wrong thing. There we go. And I don't know, did we even talk about time in the Marine Corps? Because we've been on the phone a few times.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we'd mentioned it to each other that we both were in, but I don't know if we necessarily talked about any specifics.
What unit were you in?
So I was in 324, which later got relabeled to 124. Is an infantry company out of Western Indiana. I was in the reserves, so
Oh, okay.
It was an infantry company. I was in 0311. Did 6 years in that. I was able to unfortunately pick the time right after they killed Osama bin Laden, and then of course nothing happened after that. And then like 2 months after I got out, they sent a platoon of guys to Afghanistan, which they didn't do a whole lot. But so it's like I just kind of missed everything. But it was good training. It was good like mindset stuff, good leadership. Like it was all the things that I wanted to get from it, and then more. And I had joined later. I was like 24 when I joined.
Dude, I mean, well, think about it too. Like, there's no problem with not going to war. Like, like, okay, I got a couple friends that have off themselves. One friend that got blown up and is dead, and then a couple guys like lost legs and shit like that. And it's like, why?
Yeah.
So that pedophiles could get rich, so that while we shot brown people.
Yeah.
Because like that's one thing I think about too is like I got to do some fighting. I didn't get to do as much as I wanted to do at the time, but now I'm like,
yeah,
I'm all right with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of the way I looked at it. Was just like, I maybe being in my early to mid 20s, my outlook on that stuff was different as far as like what I was hoping to get out of it. And looking back on it now, it's always like, if I'm at a bar or if I meet someone who's a Marine, if they're our age, they usually have deployed somewhere, and I just don't have that story. But it's like I put myself out there, like I did it. I got a lot of cool things from it. I didn't experience that aspect of it, but it was a cool experience. Like most government organizations I've been involved with, you see really cool things. You see things that just make your head spin backwards. Like, why are we doing this? Like, why is this a thing? Like, like I would tell anyone, especially any male that like wants to join the military because they like shooting guns, like that's the branch you want to join. I got to shoot so many cool weapons and like AT4s and laws and stuff, just in like a training environment that I would have got to do if I would have went to learn like a skill, So like I'm like totally grateful for the experience, even though maybe it turned out differently than what I thought it was when I was, like when I signed up.
Yeah. I'm so happy. Same thing here. I'm so happy with the experience. I would say though, like for people wanting to join, I would advise against it. I don't think.
Oh, really?
Like at this point, I do not recommend military service. And it's just like think about everything that happened. With the pandemic, dudes getting kicked out, not getting asked to come back, and it's right. Like. And the Marine Corps is also where I learned that I hate teamwork. I think it's like, hey, this guy doesn't even want to be here. He doesn't do anything. He's getting high on the weekends. That dude's selling him the drugs. Like, I don't want them here. I didn't want to be on this team.
You would definitely see like the best and worst that society has to offer. Which is fine.
Anywhere,
I just think about like, and I agree with your points for the most part. I just, especially like my current assignment where I work in a school, I don't work with like high school age kids, but I do see a lot of high school age kids that it's like whether they need discipline or whether they just need a way out, like they don't, don't like, they're not going to college and that's okay. Or they don't want to go to college right now, or they don't want to take out a bunch of debt to go to college, or they're just living in a certain part of my town that it's like, hey, like you've got to get out and do something different. And like, I see the military as, it doesn't have to be the Marine Corps. It can be, they can be a cook on a Navy ship or whatever. Like, but I do see it as, different people take different things from it and different people join for different reasons, obviously. And for those people that, whether they're in poverty, whether they just don't want to go to college, they don't know what to do. Like, I do see it having some benefit, but I would also agree, like, you're essentially signing up saying you'll do whatever the government tells you to do. Or if you don't, you're out, so that's always a possibility, I suppose. But but yeah, I enjoyed my time. It was a much different experience because it was a reservist experience. Aside from all the initial training being the same, I went back to my normal, police job, and I would go and I would do stuff, and I was thankful for it. But after 6 years, I was glad to kind of move on from it.
Yeah, and I would actually say that, yeah, like you're saying, if that's a thing you need, like to progress yourself, or make yourself better, go for it.
Yeah.
Of course, but I would, like, you did reserves, reserves, National Guard. Like, a lot of people talk shit on it, but hey, fucking, I know a bunch of like Rangers and like shit. I trained with Don Edwards. He was Special Forces in the National Guard. There's cool shit you can do.
Yeah. Now I will tell you, if you're going side tangent here, if you're joining the reserves and the National Guard are vastly different as far as the educational benefits that they have. Because the reserves are essentially under control of the president, and the National Guard is under the control of the governor. So that's why National Guard units get activated for like floods and stuff, and reserve units typically don't. The money is, if you're joining because you don't want to pay for college, you want them to pay for it, I would tell you to go active duty first. But if you don't want to go active duty, the National Guard side, which the Marine Corps doesn't have a National Guard component, pays a lot more. The Air Force National Guard pays even more money. So, if you're, everybody's got their own reasons. If you're someone who's joining because you don't want to take out $80,000 worth of debt to get a degree or whatever, the Marine Corps reserves probably aren't financially going to be the best option for you. There are other branches that have more money, and you and I both know it ain't the Marine Corps. But the Air Force or the Navy doesn't have the combat arm wing, and I would argue the Army doesn't either, that the Marine Corps has. So it depends what you want from it. But if you're looking to get, some financial incentive to help you out with college, and you don't want to go active duty, join a National Guard unit for sure.
Yeah. Oh shit! I forgot what I was going to say on that.
Oh yeah.
Oh no. Do not join the Florida Guard. I have a student that's in that, and he's told me everything that I need to know about it. You're not gonna get anything out of it. Just don't.
No. Well, and the other good thing about the National Guard.
I'm saying the Florida Guard, as in like the Florida Militia Guard that the governor set up, not National Guard. National Guard.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's just like any other National Guard.
Yeah, I think we have that in Indiana. It's called the Guard Reserve. And what it is, it's like, or so I'm told, if back when the Indiana National Guard was getting deployed, then the Guard Reserve was technically like the Indiana Guard if there was a flood or something. It's a very, like, I had a buddy, acquaintance in college that did it. And at first it looks like the military, then you realize it's actually not, and it's a bunch of old dudes. So what we call the Guard Reserve is like, you like step in when the Army National Guard gets deployed somewhere, which now they aren't getting deployed hardly anymore. But the other thing about the National Guard compared to the Marine Corps is, like, when I joined the Marine Corps, there was only a couple jobs that I could choose from because it was an infantry company. So I could have drove a truck, I could have been an admin clerk, or the infantry. Whereas with like the Army National Guard, especially in like Indiana, you can pick pretty much any job you want because there's going to be somewhere that's close that, is going to allow you to do it. So something else to think about depending on what someone wants to get out of it. But I'm the same as you. Like, if someone tells me they're interested, I always want to know why. If it's just like, oh, because my family was in the military, like, well, but why do you want to do it? Because if you don't want to do it, like, that's where you're going to end up hating it.
And whatever the fuck you want to do it. Like, otherwise you're going to regret not doing it. Like, for me, it was simple. It was like, I either wanted to be in a touring death metal band or I wanted to go to Afghanistan. I didn't want to do anything like, go to college. No, I went to college after.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Like it was way more retarded than I expected it to be.
There was a lot of times you're just like, why are we doing it this way? Like, why don't we do it this way? And it's just like, because that's how we're doing it. And it's like, all right, then I'll just sit here for 6 hours and watch this Humvee when we could park it in that building over there, couldn't we? Okay, never mind, whatever.
Bro, I literally was put on a working party to burn our water in Afghanistan. I know what you're thinking. burn water. Water doesn't burn. It's in water bottles. We poured fuel on water bottles and burnt it in Afghanistan. And 1 week later, we had to ration our water. Otherwise, we would run out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like,
no. I know there's all kinds of
Yemen,
shenanigans in those deployment settings. When you're, that makes sense. As someone that's never been there, that makes sense. I've heard similar stories. Just the kind of stuff where you're just like, but like when we would go to the field, even if we weren't shooting, which was actually somewhat common, essentially just to camp out, which was fine. They would give us like our NVGs, and it's like, why we like we're not doing anything with the NVGs? Why do we have them? Like all we're gonna do is lose that. Like, so why are we carrying these things around if we don't? If we're not using them? Like, I don't know. It was just, I mean, I didn't care to have them. It's just, on Sunday at 2:30 in the afternoon, someone's lost their NVGs. Well, no shit, because we took them to the field and we didn't need to take them to the field. Like, those are just
now
things.
No one's leaving. Say goodbye to your normal job.
Yeah.
And also, it's everyone's fault. This is why I hate teamwork.
Yeah, the whole idea of the military, like the shit runs downhill, never made sense to me because it's like it should just roll down to the person that fucked it up, and it should stop there. Like, we don't need to keep letting it roll all the way down. If your staff sergeant messed it up, it should stop with him. Like, there's no reason to keep punishing everybody else below him just because you happen to be in his command.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can talk about that shit all day long.
Yeah, I know. Well, damn. Okay. Anything else you want to cover today?
No, just to remind everyone that for the next couple hours, I'll leave the discounts on the website. It's $25 off a class, and just make sure you're clicking on the right class because I'm teaching Entangled Gunfighting in Pennsylvania. If you sign up for the wrong one, it's not a big deal. Just email me. But like I had one guy that signed up for Pennsylvania, but he had a Florida address. I'm still trying to get a hold of that dude to make sure that he's coming to Florida, or he's coming to the Florida class. So, and then, like I said, there's a discount code. I'll leave that up for a few hours. If you have any questions, you can, Facebook is probably the best way to get a hold of me. If you don't have my number, you can just message Definitive Training Solutions at Facebook. The website's definitivetrainingsolutions.com. And I have an alumni group. So once you take a class, you get in the alumni group. It just essentially is a place that I kind of springboard ideas off of, or I sometimes I just kind of rant about shit that I don't want to rant about on the internet because I don't want to come off as a negative person. And so once you take a class, you're in the alumni group. We talk about the dog tag thing. And yeah, I just looking forward to get to Florida. My wife's parents have a condo down there in like Anna Maria Island. So like I go to Florida quite a bit, like at least once a year. And I love traveling. Not that I won't ever teach locally to Indianapolis. I just haven't found a range that's like cool enough yet. When I do, I will, but I'll still enjoy traveling, especially coming to hang out with, like-minded people like you guys. So if you are someone that has a range, or you are affiliated with a range, somewhere, preferably in the Midwest, but I'll entertain anywhere. Get a hold of me. And then, like I said, the classes in Florida are going to be a great time. Looking forward to seeing y'all. So you can sign up on the website.
Right on. And then for my people, I'll be updating the calendar probably fucking tomorrow with my classes. I've got ranges booked that I just need to post the classes for. We've also started using another range that's owned by Green Line Tactical alumni down in DeLand. So look forward to low light classes there. Low light pistol, want to do low light rifle, and just a low light shotgun long gun in general. It doesn't have to be that specific, to what gun. But yeah, look forward to that. So in addition to air training facility in Leesburg, we'll also be using this place in the land. And then I also have been planning on scheduling in Mayaca, Florida. There's a pretty sweet facility down there owned by another Green Line alumni. Orders have been shipping out. I haven't been doing videos because I've been trying to focus on catching up on orders. a lot of people gear right now. I had a couple videos break. One broke at 3 million views. The other one got almost 2 million views. And basically, I got piled up with orders, and it's just me selling. But I'm going to be down to just one page of orders here pretty shortly. I've got a bunch sitting right here. If your name is Josh and you ordered a bandolier, there's 3 Joshes sitting over there. And then Noah, I know you've been weighing on it. This looks pretty sweet, actually. The dangler in red. And then we also got the ankle med kit in red. I actually want to take pictures of these before I ship them. Anyone else, if you want something right now, that's made to order it now, because like I should have done it already, but here pretty soon I'm going to shut down made to order items on my website. It's going to be where you can only buy shit I've already made. That's so that you don't have to wait as long. It will, of course, make it so it's like harder to get my stuff, but it's going to be like buy now, ship now options instead of having to wait for me to make it. So appreciate you guys. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Zach, for jumping on this live stream. This is something I want to do more often, because that's another reason why I'm trying to shut down orders on my site, is I want to be able to make more videos and bring more content out, grow the audience. And I want to do more videos with other instructors and also students. I think great thing to have, because
there's like plenty of students out there that have a ton of experience that they may not be instructors themselves for a variety of reasons, and they have a ton of knowledge that they can answer all the same questions that we talked about and probably then some. And so, I think, getting the word out about, other students. I know myself, like I've wanting to use this so I can talk to other instructors and do my live streams and just be more consistent. So I appreciate you having me and giving me any kind of exposure you can, especially with the Florida classes, but also in general. We sold a couple more today. The Entangled Gunfighting class is one class that I do usually cap at about 12 people. And then I've got 2 or 3 other people that are other instructors at other companies that I think are going to show up. So, again, I'm not saying the Entangled class is like sold out, but just if you're thinking about taking it, that is one class that I do have to cap. Because if I get more than 6 or 7 groups of people fighting each other, it kind of gets hard to watch for me. So, definitely just kind of, I got to be able to watch everyone and make sure I give everybody an equal amount of attention. And so the Entangled class, I do keep probably about like 6 to 8 students less than like a shotgun. So
now for like people who are worried about getting injured, or old people, like how are they going to be okay in that class? What do you think for them?
Yeah. So I can modify anything. I've had people have pre-existing injuries, just like some kind of back injury, and they have worked around it and made it through the whole day. I've had some people that, by the end of the day, their injury just starts to kind of creep up on them, but they can still watch. As long as you can, move around and you don't have like a cast on, you're not in a wheelchair. I mean, those things would be difficult to work with, but if you're the kind of person you can walk and you can bend down and you can kneel down and get up, like if you can do those major movements, we can work with you. And then also, like, you would know, like, sometimes if you can't participate in every drill, just watching it is pretty valuable as well. So I want everyone to participate. Nothing in my classes is mandatory. I never force a student to do something. So if you got there and you're like, like I just can't lay on my side like that, we would try a different way. If you can't lay on your other side, then I would just have you watch so that you understand like what's going on. If someone has like legitimate concerns, I've had a student who was in the middle of like chemotherapy taking one of my classes before. So like, it's really comes down to like, as long as you can do basic mobility movements, it's okay if you're fat, it's okay if you're skinny, it's okay if you have never taken a jiu-jitsu class, it's okay if you're a jiu-jitsu black belt, it's okay if you've never shot a gun before. Entangled gunfighting really is like the catch-all for experience levels, probably more so than any other class that I teach. So if you got specific questions about like specific issues, like medical issues, feel free to hit me up on the Facebook page. But if your elbow hurts because you're 55 years old and your elbow hurts, like you can, like, I have no doubt we can work through everything.
And that, yeah. So I've actually got a student that's been delaying taking carry pistol 1 with me because her arm's in a cast now. And I was like, hey man, like you should definitely take it one-handed then right now. This is like exactly why I say you need to get good at one-handed shit, just because tomorrow you might be wearing a fucking cast, you know?
Yeah, like you got the other hand, so we can work with that. Or, you know, like some of the ground fighting techniques, like maybe, like I may show you on like my right side, but that doesn't mean you can't do it on your left side, or vice versa. So there's really hasn't been anyone that's had to sit everything out. We've had some people by the end of the day, they just kind of get a little banged up and they just are like, man, I'm just in pain. Like, then that's fine. They can watch. But for the most part, I would say like 98% of the people that take the class complete the whole class. And probably 20% of those at the beginning, they say, I don't know if I can do it. And then it's a very slow paced class as far as like, we just build and build and build. And it's, not till the end of the day where we're actually like really like going at it. And so, if someone, I really can't think of a medical condition short of just like, being in a wheelchair or like having a neck brace on. Like, those would be about the only things I can think of off the top of my head that I would probably say, like, maybe you should wait till you heal up. Everybody's got ailments, everybody, especially if you're someone that has lived in, the martial art grappling world before, like everything hurts usually, or certain things hurt. And it's not uncommon at a jiu-jitsu class when you roll with someone to be like, hey man, I had surgery on my shoulder. If you're going to attack anything, just attack this side of my body. Like that's kind of the same mindset that I roll with, of like, if you've got an issue, just make it known. And we'll make sure that, I don't put you in a spot where you're at a high likelihood to aggravate it.
And so I haven't done much like that aside from Sonny's classes since, being in the Marine Corps. But like a general rule is you want to be with a guy with more experience. Anyway. Oh yeah. So if you're intimidated, like, oh man, I've never done this before. Well, that dude who does this a ton, he's not going to prove how much better he is than you. Like, he knows that he'll actually be the better one to work with because knows what it means to be a good partner.
Yeah. So like in the jiu-jitsu world, like rolling, which is essentially like trying to choke or tap each other out, against a resisting opponent, sparring, if you will. Like we always say, like the most dangerous person when they're rolling is like a white belt, because they're the ones that are going to get, like, they're going to hurt you, not on purpose, but on accident. But you start to get like purple, brown, black belts, like they'll still beat you up, but like they're not going to break your wrist by rolling you a certain way, or so it's the same kind of thing. Even in entangled gunfighting, there's not a whole lot of chances for that based on how I start the scenarios at the end. But yeah, you're exactly right. Like, the most dangerous person is the new person, and that's okay. We're all new once. But I just don't want, like people to think that, oh, because I'm like fat and out of shape, or because I smoke cigarettes, or because my ankle is swollen or whatever, or because my back hurts because of my time in the military. Like, I don't want that to be the reason somebody just totally writes it off and doesn't show up. I am yet to have anyone that's had physical conditions that said they didn't get like what they wanted out of the class, even if they couldn't participate in the entire 100% of the class. So, and then also, like, I think some people get it backwards, right? They think they have to be in shape before they start a martial art. And it's like, no, dude, like, it's okay to do it the other way. It's okay to be fat and out of shape and a smoker, because if you start going to jiu-jitsu classes 2 or 3 times a week, you'll start to fix those other problems just on the basis that the class is going to wear you out, and so don't think that you have to get in shape to take a class like this. In fact, Javier can probably attest to it. You can take this class and use the class as a reason to get in shape.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing I would reiterate about it.
All right. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you get on to definivestrengthsolutions.com, sign up for his class, like his Facebook page. Do you have a YouTube channel up yet, or?
I do have a YouTube channel. It has a couple videos on there. Feel free to like the YouTube page. I've been wanting to do more with it, kind of to steal some of your mojo with the shorter videos.
Oh yeah,
but
do it
there's
right
probably
now.
there's probably like 6 or 8 videos on there. I think one of them is me slamming shotguns in the ground that kind of set the internet on fire a little bit a few years ago, and may have got me kicked out of another instructor group. So and then there's just a couple of short videos about me talking about mindset shit or like how to reload a gun. It's kind of all over the place. But yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Facebook's probably where I do the majority of my correspondence. So feel free to definitely like the Facebook page first, and then you can like the other stuff later.
Yeah, dude, start doing shorts. And specifically, I stole this hack from SOE. It's just make a video showing a bunch of loaded magazines for some reason, and people will fucking lose their shit. They're like, oh, the springs are going to wear out. You didn't test those, and you can't carry that many. It's funny. I put 20 mags on a table. They're like, there's no way you can carry all that. Like, oh, does that mean I also can't carry the fucking 30 guns I got over in that room?
yeah, exactly.
Or those bags of rice, like also, just because like shit gets bad doesn't mean I'm going to suddenly abandon my home,
Right. Yeah.
All right.
There are several things, that we've talked about this before that I'm just like, I think sometimes just for my own mental health, I just want to make a 30-second video and be like, hey, like it's okay to do this, or it's okay to do that. Like it's okay to carry an AK-47 in a tennis racket bag. Like, at least in my state, that's legal. Like it's okay to do that. Like you're not a terrorist if you do that. Like that doesn't make you some weird, crazy person. That just makes you prepared, or if you carry a shotgun in a folding chair bag because you go to your son's soccer games and you want a better use of force tool when there's all these people around, just that kind of knowledge that amongst us is fine. And I've even seen it on some of your videos where you say things that some people deem controversial. And then every once in a while you'll see someone comment like, oh, yeah, I guess I can't keep the gun loaded. Imagine that. So like
that's exactly why I do it. I mean,
so like that's the thing.
Of course you're gonna piss off people, but like I don't need everyone to like me. I need the dude that wakes up,
Yeah.
Is there there's a bunch of people that are just gonna stay with the crowd no matter what.
Yeah.
And they all wore the mask and are vaccinated and shit like that anyways. It's like they're gonna do what this crowd says is right. They're not going to think about it objectively. They're not going to try to find the truth, I just need that one dude to be like,
but there's like one dude in that group that's like, oh, like maybe it's not violating any of the 4 firearm safety rules if I shoot the target next to somebody. Like, I guess I never thought about that. It's actually not violating any of those rules. And like, so those are the, some of this content that I want to eventually put out. The other reason is just because trying to find a space to like dedicate to making that stuff, that content is just like something I'm working on along with everything social media. I am like the worst person at self-promotion, and I'm trying to get better. And I appreciate people like you that kind of just give me nudges in little different directions because a lot of the stuff that you do, especially with the YouTube shorts and just some of the videos, like, oh, I can see myself, and I've made a notebook full of half a dozen ideas that would be 30-second videos. Maybe not as controversial as yours are, but just, things that I think are important, whether it's related to shotguns or fighting.
The thing I try to do is like I'll say a thing I believe, and there's some obvious point in there that I don't say, and then people freak out about that thing, and I go, did I say that? And then they're like, well, you need to be more clear, like the load, like handing, like if I were to hand you a loaded rifle so you could check out what the button feels like on the flashlight, I don't need to unload the gun for that. All right. Doing this doesn't require doing this you. If people are like, well, what if the person's crazy or solely unsafe or blah blah blah, I'm like, I don't hand guns to people I don't trust with fucking guns.
Well, people think that you just walk around and just hand guns to everyone you meet. It's like I'm quite the opposite. You have to have some level of trust for me to hand you a gun. Regardless, I don't care what kind of gun it is, and I don't care if it's loaded or not. I'm not going to hand a crazy person an unloaded gun either. So it's like but there's those kind of things where you can see people every once in a while in the comments like, oh, I guess it's okay. Like, maybe, and then there's, 100 other people that are like, this is crazy. Civilization is going to burn. And there's that one guy that's like, oh, like, I guess, it is loaded in my safe. So why can't I handle it loaded? So I do like that aspect of it. And that is, like I said, the YouTube channel eventually will be a little more. I'm not sure exactly what direction I want to go with it. But I do want it to be that kind of educational, not just for my students, but for people that just stumble upon it and know nothing and are like, oh, like I'm a jiu-jitsu guy, but I don't know anything about guns. And they find it, and I can have some content that at least steers them in the right direction. And that's the direction I want to take it eventually.
Yeah, and that's something we need more of. Like, I know, like one thing I've been trying to do is train outside of my circle because like our circle is very small, and I think like Mike had posted, what does it mean to be open-minded? And thinking about that question, two things came to me. It was number one, what Sonny said is like questioning the things that you believe to be 100% true, still question that stuff. But the other thing I think is a part of being open-minded is actively seeking out information like that disagrees with the way you do it,
Exactly.
actually give it a fair look. And Jaeger said that a long time ago. It's like, you don't know Weaver stand sucks unless you take a Weaver class, So that's something I've been trying to do. Just did a class with Kinetic Consulting, John Dufresne, great dude. And I learned a lot of great shit in there. I don't think necessarily there were things that I like flipped my opinion on, but it was like it was a good class. It was, I think, for my shooting, exactly what I needed right now. Couldn't have been better timing taking that. I learned a lot of great things on how to teach stuff, how to run a class, and techniques for shooting. So it was perfect for me right now. But I would say too, like guys from that circle, they need to come into ours. And then what we all need to do is we all need to go sweat on the ground, getting our asses kicked in jiu-jitsu. And that's something I'm looking at gyms. I mean, it's a far drive, but I'm like, hey, dude, I could make it at least a couple times a month,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Like getting outside that comfort zone. Like the first thing I think of that is like guys that, say like, well, and this is more of a law enforcement, like, well, jiu-jitsu doesn't work. And that's slowly changing within the profession. But it's like, if you think that, you need to get into a jiu-jitsu class even more, than somebody else. I think of the idea of like, I don't see a need to carry a 1911, but like, if I could take a 1911 class, I would really enjoy that. Not because I'm going to carry a 1911 after that class, but because it would expose me to something different. And then I'm kind of at that point where you are, like you mentioned about like, you're paying attention to how they run the class. You're paying attention to like the way they structure the drills. From an instructor standpoint, like those are things that I also pick up on. I took a class a couple weeks ago, and you're also 100% right about like there's certain training circles, and they're not always the same as the people that you and I associate with, and that's okay. Most of it comes down to like loaded guns or unloaded guns or like blah blah blah. That that kind of stuff that I think sometimes drives me crazy, but then other times I'm just like, well, they just don't know because they don't step outside of that circle. Like they don't take a class anywhere except that range that they live next door to. And I was that way once when I first started, so I get it. But like that's extremely important to just step out and say, you know what, like I'm going to take a Rob Pincus class. Like I have a lot of disagreements with him on all kinds of things, and I took 2 days worth of training with him, and I still have a lot of disagreements with him, both like professionally and how he runs his classes. But like like I'm not mad. I'm not sad that I took it. I just was like, well, I need to figure out what this is about, like, to make sure that if what I'm disagreeing with him about is actually stuff that I disagree with him about.
Yeah. And one thing too is, I think as a whole, the gun community, we straight up deserve whatever the fuck we get because we spend way too much time. And I mean, I consider myself gun culture, not gun community, but like I'm still a part of that, right? There's way too much time spent tearing each other down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
like even T-Rex Arms, Lucas Bakken, everyone has a lot of shit they can talk on him. I'm sure some of it is correct too. Some of it, but it's like, why are they talking shit on him? Probably comes from a low vibration, like a place of weakness. Right. And if you look at the things he has done, made a lot more gun owners, maybe people think, maybe I should actually get good at using this thing. He employed Americans. He's
Yeah.
brought people together. Like, you can look at someone, take a little clip, and try to tear them apart. I mean, they've tried to do that like with Sonny, they try to do that with Jaeger, and it's going to happen to me eventually.
Yeah.
It's happened a little bit, but the people, it's funny to do is like, no, this is what you're supposed to do is unload the gun before you hand it to someone. He literally flags his hand with it.
Oh yeah.
With it while it's loaded as he goes to unload it. I'm like,
yeah.
Are you supposed to point at your hand while it's loaded? Is that what you're supposed to do?
Yeah,
you make it safe,
Yeah,
it's funny. Every time someone does that, they end up deleting the video. I haven't checked back to see if that dude did, but I'm like, yeah, case in point. But yeah, instead of like getting mad because like, oh, they're wearing war belts when they don't do that professionally, or that they think looking at the holster is wrong, or moving during a reload or a draw or whatever, that because it's a funny one they all say is taking one step to the side does not get you off the X. It's like, yeah, we know that. Right. It's just when you have 10 people on the line, we can't actually have you move the way we want you to.
Right.
So it's a thing to just say, start moving,
we're just instilling that. We're just showing you that habit. We're not telling you that it's sufficient. We're just saying it's important for most of the time for you to get used to moving your feet before you start shooting the gun. Like there are times where you may not want to, but like for the most part, especially in a first level pistol class, like I still teach that, and people, and most people that talk shit about like that, they're just talking shit because they heard other people talking shit about it. They don't exactly. They don't actually like want to get like to the point where they're like, oh, well, let me come take a class so I can really figure this out and see if it works for me. They would really just sit there and just type. The same thing like when I first saw the downrange video with Jay taking pictures downrange many, many years ago. Like that's what got me into a tactical response class. Like at first I was kind of like, oh, like is that okay? I don't think I didn't feel like that was okay. And then that made me want to take the class. And then once I saw it in person, I was like, oh, this is nothing. And that's what started me on this whole journey that has probably led me like to this point,
Which is hilarious too, because in SOI, it's like in the Marine Corps, it's like you're on the rifle range, and it's like you cannot fucking go past this line or have a gun loaded at this point or whatever, or else you're fucking gonna go to hell and your sister's gonna get ate,
Yeah.
But then you have to do a rush range, and there's definitely dudes in front of you while you're shooting. Like, there's definitely downrange people.
Yeah, and they're shooting machine guns usually. Yeah, they're shooting machine guns over your head, or they're shooting a machine gun like 5 feet to the right of you as you're running, which is still safe. But it's like, but yet if you're on the KD range and your shot goes off a millisecond after that fucking whistle, like fucking stand
straight
by.
to jail.
I never understood the dichotomy of like, why is one thing so egregious and the other thing is not?
But also,
if you look at, like real videos, like in urban areas, like the Marines are shooting motherfuckers with dudes standing right next to the door anyway.
And you know what too? You're getting flagged on that range, on that rush range. Someone's flagging you eventually.
Yeah,
and the gun's probably on fire. His finger's close to that trigger, and also you're not allowed to carry a gun on base. But you're the tip of the spear. Remember that.
yeah. And that's something I didn't really, I didn't really operate out of a base per se with the reserve side, but I did see a lot of that stuff in training of just, and even at that point in training, I had taken some tactical response classes, I think, or maybe shortly after. But even I thought like I could see the weird issue of like, well, we're on the KD range and like everything is, they treat you just like horribly, like you don't deserve to be around firearms, and then you go to like a machine gun range or a buddy rush range, and you're like, what? How is this okay? But that's not okay. And it's just, and then other times like where you have ranges where they're like shooting machine guns from elevated positions, like over you, or like they're blowing up shit next to you, or they're shooting mortars over you, and you're just hoping that like they're good at what they do. But yet on that KD range, like
if they're 311, they're not good at what they do.
like
we had artillery round strike. Like, I don't remember the exact distance, but it was within. They said it was 30 meters in front of the line, but the trajectory was like that. So they impact and blew out that way. But like the kill radius of that round when it comes down like this is 50 meters. So if it came down like this, like potentially everyone right here would have been just fucking.
It just happened to hit at that angle. Yeah.
It was a miscalculation of a decimal point is the story I was told.
Yeah. So like that kind of stuff is okay. And it should be. But those are the kind of things that,
if I hand you a loaded gun,
you're just like, man, if there's more knowledge out here, like the class I took a couple weeks ago, like good, solid, good information. Like I'm not going to talk shit about them, but like, it's just like, man, you're so close. Like, I wish you would go just train with some of our people and see that like these guns being loaded isn't the scariest thing in the world. And it's like, if that guy would do that, he would be 100 times better tomorrow,
it's like, there's great information, but if you stay within your circle, it becomes a circle jerk,
it happens on like both sides. Like there's people that have trained at, schools that we've trained at that never leave those schools. And it happens just as bad, or in some cases worse, where like the second you mention not yelling the word stop every time you draw the gun, they look at you like you got a dick growing out of your forehead. And it's like, you don't have to do that. And I know that because I've taken other classes where they don't do that. And I've got to evaluate that in my mind with both different sides of it or whatever else technique. So like that is a huge part of it. Sometimes when I leave those classes as a student, I am a little frustrated because I'm like, they won't let us have loaded guns, and that makes me mad. And then, but then a day or so later, I'm like, you know what, like I'm not going to stop carrying a loaded gun just because I took that class. Like, and if they ask me about it, I'll tell them. But like, I'm going to try to be wiser about not just going out and just saying things that may come off negative because those people still, hold a piece of the puzzle. A majority of what that guy taught, like especially the lecture he taught about gear, was spot on. It's just the shooting portion wasn't, because I feel like I'm making the assumption that he doesn't train with anybody outside of law enforcement, or at least no one within our circle. So I've been there as a student. I've been that student when I first started and thought the first class I went to, that was the way, and there was no other. And then, as you go and you take more, you realize like, oh, like when you buy a class from me, all you're buying is me cherry picking the important things that I learned from other classes, right? Some call that stealing. In the martial art world, that's the biggest compliment you could have, is to have somebody show a technique the way that you taught them. In my classes, and I'm sure in your classes, like it's not all from Gary Marr, all from Tactical Response. I'm taking things from different, schools I've been to. And that's what you're paying me for, is I'm putting them into the class because those I think are the most important based on the curriculum of the class. And that's what you're paying me for. If you wanted me to teach a tactical response class, then you should just go take a tactical response class.
Exactly.
So that is like instructors that is so undervalued sometimes.
Yeah, it's one of those things too, is where it's like I've had a student take carry pistol 1, then they go take fighting pistol, and they're like, man, I'm glad I took that because it prepared me for fighting pistol. But at the same time, I've had a student take fighting pistol, then they came to carry pistol 1, they get more out of carry pistol 1, because they've done that stuff already. So now when they come do this, it's like, okay, they're not thinking as hard about the basic stuff in that class, and they're able to operate and learn at a higher level. And I wrote a AAR up for that class I just took with Connect Consulting, and I was like, I would suggest, if you have the ability to take a red dot pistol class before coming to this, I would do that, because like for me that was the good thing. I had taken like 3 red dot pistol classes already, and that way when I got there, if that had been my first one, it probably would have been harder to operate at the level I was able to. So it's also a thing of like, how do I say? It's like your classes in fighting pistol, my classes in fighting pistol. There's stuff from that, and Pat at Prepare Patriot said it very simply. It's like, well, I'm not going to teach the wrong way, just to make it different. Like if this is the best way to do it, that's what I'm going to fucking teach. And the best way is probably going to be different later on, and if it's not, that's either good if you are learning lots of new stuff, or it's bad because you haven't been learning new stuff, you know?
Yeah, and it's just different based on who's teaching it, right? So like your perspective of what you think someone should know in a 2-day pistol class, even though it's probably similar to mine, is different from mine versus somebody else. And so like that's really the beauty of this whole training thing is like you get to see people's different perspective, whether it's their own experience, whether it's their other training experiences, whatever it is, you get to see like what they think is important. And it doesn't mean someone's wrong and someone's right or someone's stealing something from somebody else. It's just like, John Farnham talks about it, that most of the stuff is not like very rarely does somebody make something up 100% on their own. And it's just this idea of like advancing the art. And then, like I said, in the martial art world, it's been like that for thousands of years. But in the gun training world, sometimes we get stuck on the idea that, just because me and somebody else both teach a combatives class, that one of us, like that there has to be like a winner between both of us. And it's like, no, like we can both coexist in the same space because our classes may be similar, but they're also different because of who's teaching them. Maybe it's the length of the class. Maybe it's the specifics in the class, whatever. And I think some people get hung up on that, the idea of like, well, I'm not taking a class from so-and-so. I'm not taking a class from so-and-so, or I'm only taking classes from this company. If this company offers a class, then I'm definitely going to take it. Well, why? Just because that company offered it, or because that class is something that would benefit you? One
of the big things I've been noticing is it's like you see a difference in the class based on who's teaching it, in the way that if that person does not actually take classes, it's like you don't need to fucking talk to people that way, and like there are good ways to do this besides that. It's like that's kind of something where I've begun to become a little bit how would you say prejudice on, or like if they do not take classes, I'm like, I kind of know what this is gonna feel like when I get there.
Yeah, you see that a lot of people that are like career police officers that only take police training because they only are instructors for cops who are usually forced to be there. And then when they have a class where they have people that are paying, that transition doesn't usually switch very well. And I won't name any instructors. There are some instructors out there that have a huge law enforcement background that are just like sometimes downright mean to their students. Like if their toes aren't on the line, they just start saying like toes on the line. And it's like, hey, like these people are new. Like you got to work with them a little bit. Like these aren't safety issues. Not having your toes on the line is not a for firearm safety rule. Like it's okay to get them there, but like, and it just, I see that a lot with career police officers who teach a lot in the law enforcement profession. And then when they teach people who paid money to take the classes, it's like, all right, we don't gotta be a jerk to these people. Like we don't gotta yell at them. This is not military boot camp. Like I'm here to teach you these techniques, which, like I said earlier, are things that I think are important based on the curriculum. Like short of you violating safety rules or short of you just downright disobeying what I'm telling you, there's no need for me to get loud with anyone. And even, I think that's easy to learn when you branch out and you see a bunch of other instructors.
And even safety stuff, it's like, my biggest thing is like, you just got to own it. If you make a mistake, like that's going to happen with a new shooter. That's going to happen. It's not like they're intending to be a fucking liability when they come, it's like there's going to be mistakes because this is their first time doing it, so, you gotta create, first teach them, create expectations, enforce it. But also it's like, if they flag their hand or something, like because this is their first time doing it, they're learning it. The second you start screaming at them and freaking out about them, now they're just more nervous. They're gonna fuck up worse.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I've seen it both sides. Like it seems like with the police instructors, it's kind of a tangent, but with the police instructors, they tend not to call out those like safety rules because they don't probably know that they're doing it, that the student's doing it. And then that just like allows the student, every time they put the gun back in the bag, this happens and this happens. And then so like that's a problem. But then, like you said, the other problem is like, if it's especially someone's first time doing it, like, you don't want to go there and start yelling at them, because then they're going to feel like they can't ever, if they make that mistake again, that you're going to like, beat them up or kick them out of class. And so there has to be that time where you have a serious conversation with them. But you are right. The first step is that they have to admit that what they did was wrong, even if they don't fully understand that they did it. So that's how I always try to talk to them, is like, all right, this happened. Like, you realize you did it. And they can say no. Like, if they're like, oh, I didn't know I did that. Okay, well, as long as you accept that I saw it, and I'm not going to lie to you about it, then we just need to talk about how to make it better, and like I said, that's different than just deliberately doing something out of order, or deliberately not, like if I tell you to reload the gun a certain way, I get it. You may not do it that way, but like, you're in my class, like, you're paying for what I think is important. So I want you to try that while you're in my class. Like, those are things that wouldn't cause me to yell at somebody, would definitely cause me to be like, like, let's make sure you're here for the right reasons, which is totally different than if somebody doesn't bring their toes to the firing line. If their toes are an inch and a half away from the firing line and the instructor is yelling at them as if they're pointing at the instructor's head, So there is that fine balance. And that balance, in my opinion, is learned by taking other classes. I think some of these instructors, especially the high level ones, if we start throwing out names, a lot of them don't really take classes as a student anymore, and mostly because they're so busy with their own company, which is great. But that's where you learn that kind of stuff, is teaching other classes, seeing how, like you said earlier, watching how they do things, the things that are important to other instructors, the way they organize things so it runs more smoothly. And those are the things that, even as a student now, that I still look for. And even if the subject matter of the class isn't something that I was thinking about taking, if it's a certain instructor I haven't trained with before, I want to see how that guy does it, because I haven't trained with him yet, which may be different from someone who's not an instructor. That's fine, but that's kind of where I am a lot of times.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how it's going to be when we're old guys, because I'm not sure what exact wave of trainers we are, But if you think about, I kind of think of there's like that early era, gun sight, and then there's Andy Stanford era where James was there, and then there was that recent era that was James the biggest guy I think of, but
like that like Magpul era, Chris Costa, Travis Haley.
Now there's this new era, so it's gonna be different. I think, man, and there's, I have plans. I'm gonna start filming. I've already started writing an outline for it, but I'm gonna release a online training where it's lectures, how to dry practice, shoot these drills, video it, send it to me, type service, and it's gonna be expensive, people. It's going to be.
Yeah.
I don't want people who are not going to do it either. So if you're a quitter, don't sign up. But one thing I was thinking about that I need to talk about is, hey, you're going to be fucking seeing content that's written by AI.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to say, at least right now, I'm saying I'm not going to do that. Maybe there'll be a time where I need to fucking, business wise, I'll write an ad or something and that'll help me, but I hate it. I hate AI. And that's another subject, but you think about between AI and also, NRA kind of started it. If you really do look at it, NRA is a pyramid scheme for training, and USCCA has done it. And there's other take the online thing to become an instructor. And it's I kind of, I relate the way we do it more to comedians and musicians, from the ground up kind of perspective, and trying to find a way and gain followers and stuff. And but then there's the teaching aspect is a separate subject of that. But we're gonna see that as a part of a huge negative, but we're also gonna see the evolution of adding things to it, and then dudes coming out of professions to teach. It's been lots of SF and SWAT guys. This is the big names that I see. But at the same time, I do see a lot of those dudes that they are not actually taking classes, but they're teaching them, and they may have great knowledge, but it's just like there's still that aspect of like, if you're not taking classes and being the student, you're only being the dude talking to the student. You don't see what it's like from their eyes. You know?
Yeah. Oh, you're 100%. Yeah. And that's an important aspect of seeing it from the student's eyes. Is, I always think of the biggest example of just like police officers who become an instructor of their department. They may not have a background in firearms, but they do it. And maybe they're the best shooter on the department or whatever. And they're just in that world. And you could say the exact same thing about the military, right? Guys that are in the military, maybe they're Navy SEALs or other special forces, and they're in an instructor role, and they come out of that and they start teaching, citizens, and it's not always a direct like matchup when it comes to like teaching styles or content you're teaching or anything really. And the hang up is, like you said, that they haven't been students in that new environment, and that's really holding them back, in my opinion. Doesn't mean they don't have great things to say. Doesn't mean that they don't have great things to add to the table or to the art. But it's like being a student in a class is the best way to learn how to be an instructor. Like it's not some USCCA certification you can buy. It's not even a school that you can pay for. And I've taken several of them, and they're all great. It's the best thing you can do is to be a student in classes. That's the best thing that can make you a good instructor. And I don't care who you are or what your background is. Like I said, you and I we've seen instructors that are great. Like I had one recently. Man, he would just be so much better if he went out and just took a class from you, or a class from Gary, or a class from Calvin, or a class from Jay, just one. And that would potentially open his mind up to a lot of things that I feel like he hasn't been exposed to yet,
Right. And it doesn't like this class I just took was the 5th class I've taken this year,
Yeah.
So like, no, you don't have to do that volume, but I would say if you're teaching, I'd say 3 or 4 a year, I think.
Yeah. I would say like my goal, even with everything else going on in my personal life, is just a minimum of just 2 classes as a student, and that's low. Yeah. Like I've already surpassed that this year, but realistically, it's more like 3 to 5 is kind of what I would feel comfortable at. And those can be one-day classes. It can be a radio class. It can be a medical class. It doesn't have to be a shooting class. It can be a jiu-jitsu seminar. Like that also counts. So it's like, like having some kind of, everybody's different because everybody's got different, time and restraints and stuff like that. But it's like, you should be, wanting to take at least a handful of classes as a student, not just to become a better instructor. Like I take the classes because I want to like learn about the things, and I know that they will make me a better instructor. But like when I took a class about like carrying a gun and a rifle in a bag, I took it primarily because I wanted to take that class. And I was able to pick up on other things about instructing and all kinds of stuff. But I signed up for that class because I'd never taken a class like that before, So as long as you have that kind of, I don't know, like maybe childhood curiosity about like, oh, like I want to learn about that, or I want to learn about that. That along with actually taking those classes, I think is the best training anyone can have to be an instructor, to be a good instructor. So,
yeah. So, all right. Now I've like attempted to close out like 5 times. I think
that's all right.
Kind of burn out. Well, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man.
Again, Definitive Training Solutions. Pester him and message him in his DMs every day. Tell him start making YouTube shorts, because right now it's the cheat code, bro. It's free viewers. It's free subscribers.
No, you're right. Yeah.
Basically, every day you're not posting videos. You hate money. All right. Same with me. I stopped to catch up on orders because literally I stopped videos. Every time I post videos, I get fucking orders.
Yeah.
And again, guys, if you want something made to order it right fucking now. Don't wait, because like as soon as I put in time on my computer, I'm turning it off. Adam Hall, also, you should come to Florida. If anything, you crash on my couch, dude. I'm an hour from the range. Are you staying at my place or?
Yeah. I was gonna crash at your place. That's so cool.
He gets the guest room. You don't, but you
Yeah.
should come anyways.
Yeah.
Or we'll get a blow up mattress or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
you can come crash at my place because I stalked you in your comments. I think you're in Alabama. So
he's in Tennessee. He's
Tennessee? That's close enough.
Yeah, Adam's our kind of people. So and Adam actually has a 1-day class with me that he bought during Black Friday sale. So as long as he can make it down there. I don't understand the southern geography as much as some of you, but I don't know how long the drive it is for him. But yeah, it'd be great if he could make it as well.
Adam's not in the South if he's in Tennessee. We have to drive 12 hours to get there.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, I guess I'm not qualified to make comments about what the South is.
When I went
from Indiana,
when I last saw Adam, we were when we went up to Tennessee. I was doing Sonny's Fight Like a Girl class. Yes, I know. I look like a dude who takes women's self-defense classes. Great fucking class. It's not a hit him with a purse kick him in the balls class. It's a twist his neck like this, insert knife here, grab jugular like this class. It's fucking cool.
Like, oh, this is for men too. Okay, yeah.
On the way there, we stopped at a gas station in Georgia. I was like, oh fuck, I had to put a jacket on. I was like, damn, these Yankees are fucking cold up here.
But yeah, like I said,
well, Rich, come down. Come on. Don't be like that.
Rich come on.
And also, you gotta just like you just gotta text me back. I know I've been terrible on my phone, man, and well, I actually have a good excuse. My phone's been down for a week. After this, I gotta go spend time with the family. But give me a call tomorrow. All right, guys.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
See you
everyone. Go sign up for his class. Take a look at his Facebook, like that page, subscribe to his YouTube channel, pester him to post more videos. If you comment on the videos he has now, be like, come on, bro, why no shorts? Do you hate money? Why you hate money? And then he'll want to do it. Believe me, it works. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching.
See you guys.
Communism, kill all pedophiles, and remember that trading saves lives.